In this tutorial, we're going to go ahead and work with how to create gradients in InDesign. Gradients are a graduation between two or more colors that have a blend. So you kind of get to go from one color to another. Let's go ahead, start in InDesign, go File, New. We want a document, and we're going to do 5 pages. You can go ahead and do letter, portrait. Let's do print, letter. You can change it to inches if it makes it easier. And go ahead and say create. So for our first gradient, we're going to go ahead and create a two-tone, it's just a duotone. So first thing we're going to do is go to Window and Color, and we want the one called Color. In order to create gradients, you have to first pick the colors that you're going to put into it. So we need to create that color first. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new color. I'm going to go here, it's going to be an RGB. So I'm going to switch down to RGB. For my red, I want it to be 234. For my green, I want it to be 76. And for my blue, 125. And you go ahead and click in the next box and you get kind of a pretty pink. I'm then going to go to my hamburger menu and do Add to Swatches. If I now open my swatches, I see I've got that new pink right there at the bottom. I'm going to go back up to Color, and I need to add another RGB. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the numbers for 255, 211, and B50. And now I've got kind of a cool yellow, and I'm going to go ahead, hamburger menu, add to swatches. If I now look at my swatches, they are right there as part of my colors. So next thing we're going to do is to create a new gradient swatch. So now we've got the two base colors, now we have to mix them together. So go to my hamburger menu, go down here to New Gradient Swatch, and I'm going to call this Duotone Gradient. I'm going to go ahead and make it linear. And now you've got, it looks right now like you have to do a couple weird things. You kind of do. So here, right underneath the gradient map is a little box. We're going to click on it. We're going to go to Stop Color, pop down here to Swatches, and go ahead and grab that pink color that we have. So for our other stop color, which right now is black, I'm going to do Swatches, and go ahead and make it yellow. Then when I'm happy with it, I'm going to go ahead and say Add, and done. So now if you look in your swatches menu, I now have a duotone gradient. Let's go ahead, grab an ellipse, and you'll notice right now my ellipse is going to be filled with that duotone gradient because that is what is there. I'm going to click and hold, grab shift, it'll give me a perfect circle, and now I've got a duotone gradient in there. Now if I want to, I can go to Window and go up to Color and Gradient, and I get this gradient pop-up that shows up. What I can do here is adjust how much of that color and where the midpoints are. I can change the angles, so where it's coming in. I can reverse the colors. So there's quite a few different things you can do with your gradient in there. Alright, let's go ahead and jump over to page 2 and create another one. Oh, I didn't end up with extra pages. Create a new page. So page 2, we're going to do a rainbow gradient. So for this one we have to have multiple color swatches. We have to have a red, a yellow, a green, a blue. I'm going to go ahead and use some of the colors that are already created here. In order to make this go faster, I do want you to go ahead and do the color swatches that are in the tutorial. You'll get much more accurate colors. So I'll add 1 or 2. Let's go ahead and go to Color. I'm going to go RGB. I'm going to go ahead and do kind of that purple color. So 171, 45, 136. And I get kind of a purple, so I'm going to go ahead and add that to my swatches. So now if I look at my swatches, I've got a variety of colors I can use. I'm missing kind of an orange, so I'm going to go ahead and do an orange color. Now I can go RGB. I can go ahead and do a color picker that way and choose my colors. So you've got a few different ways to do it. Alright, so now we need to do a new gradient swatch. So we're going to go up here to our swatches, go to our flyout menu, we want new gradient swatch. And we're going to call this one Rainbow Gradient. We're going to go ahead and have it be linear. And you're going to notice I only have a couple spots here on my gradient ramp. I need to add more. So what I'm actually going to do is click just underneath here and add more stops. So I want my first one. I'm going to go to Swatches and I'm going to go ahead and grab red. My second one, I'm going to go ahead and grab Swatches and let's go ahead and make it kind of an orange. Come on, there you are. Third one, let's make it yellow. Let's add a green. If you don't want one, we can always take it and drag it off. So if we have too many, go ahead and make this one blue. Go up to Swatches, grab a blue. And this last one, let's go ahead and make that violet color. Now what you can see is you can drag these colors along and change how that is going to appear. You could even go over top of each other. So I've mixed up my yellow and my green so I can change those two. And when you're happy with it, go ahead and say add and okay, you're done. So let's go ahead, grab our ellipse tool, grab our ellipse, hit shift, let go of the mouse, let go of shift, and we get a gradient that way. Now if we want to, we can change how that gradient is affected. So let's go ahead, grab our gradient tool, and you can click and drag, and it will apply that gradient in a different way. So you have a lot of different options as to how to create those gradients as you're going along. And you'll notice depending on where you start depends on how those lines are stacked. You can also go here into your gradient panel. You can hit a reverse your colors. You can change your angles. You can do quite a few different things with that. Alright, so let's go ahead and click out. And let's go to pages. For me, I need to add another page. And we're going to play with what's called the gradient feather next. So let's go ahead and grab a frame. And we're going to draw a rectangle frame over our entire page. And I'm going to right click, Content, Unassigned. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab my gradient feather tool. I'm going to pick a fill color. Let's go ahead and pick pink for today. And it's totally pink, which is fine, except it's not really a gradient. So I'm going to click back out. And I can take that gradient feather. If I use shift, it'll drag straight down. You'll notice you get to create a transparency that starts with a deep color and ends up into something transparent. So you can make a really, really gradual style of a gradient. Let's go ahead and do another new page. And this time I draw another frame. I'm going to do Content, Unassigned. This time for my fill color, I actually want to grab my Rainbow Gradient. So it filled with Rainbow Gradient. I'm going to go ahead and grab this Gradient Feather tool and drag down. And you can see you get a really, really subtle rainbow of colors. So there's a lot of different things you can do with types of gradients. Alright, so let's go do one more thing. Let's add some text. So let's go ahead, grab a text tool, grab a type box, and write peace. And let's go ahead and make it big enough so you can see it. I'm going to go 150. And I'm going to go ahead with my highlight selected. I'm going to go ahead and grab my Rainbow Gradient and see how it lays those colors in right over top. I can also take my gradient tool and draw a line and see how that will now fill the box. If I highlight the letters, I can grab the gradient tool and drag a line that way. So you've got a lot of different ways to apply gradients to text as well as background. So it's totally up to you as to how you're going to do it. I do want you to go ahead, play with a couple more, turn in a packaged PSD to Canvas, and play with gradients. That's all for this one.